The 2010s were a very awkward time to be a fan of stealth games. Metal Gear and Splinter Cell, the two espionage sweethearts, both only had a couple major mainline entries released last decade. While most say that these games aren't bad, I think we can all agree that they didn't quite capture what made us fall in love with their respective franchises in the first place. Of course, we weren't completely deprived of great stealth games for a full 10 years. Hitman had a fantastic return to form in 2016 with an even better follow-up 2 years later, and Deus Ex had a couple new entries receiving tons of praise from fans and critics alike. But amidst all that, stealth was seemingly reduced to a side component in other games of other genres. Luckily, in 2012, Canadian studio Clay Entertainment would answer the pleas of us who were desperately awaiting more stealthy goodness. While they've since become a lot more famous for their following title, Don't Starve, Mark of the Ninja really struck a chord with me and many other stealth fans. It borrows a lot of design choices and innovations from stealth juggernauts to create something that genre newcomers and veterans alike can sink their teeth into and get that satisfying, exhilarating feeling that these games are known to provide. The game was originally published by Microsoft for the Xbox 360 and PC, but in 2018, a remaster for PS4, Switch, Xbox One, and PC was released. Not only does this mean more people get to play the game, but they also re-exported all the art assets into 4K instead of 720p like in the initial release. They even added a developer commentary and included the prequel DLC chapter, Dosan's Tale. I've played the DLC and it's fine. Pretty damn short, nothing too spectacular, but it's a good extra nonetheless. I'm on the same 1080p monitor I've been using since 2013, so unfortunately I can't tell you how crisp everything looks at its native 4K resolution, but even here it looks great. Characters contrast nicely against the environment whether they're shown as black silhouettes in dark, or full color when light is shined on them. Animations are always smooth and slick as hell, especially for your player character, the Marked Ninja. I just love this little strut he does when sneaking through tight spaces. Holding R2 makes you run, which is much louder as denoted by the circle coming out of it. Nice way to let the player know the range of the sounds they're making. As you could guess, you can kill a guard by sneaking up on them and hitting square, but what's weird though is that hitting the button activates a QuickTime event where you have to hold the analog stick and press the button again. I'm really not quite sure why this QuickTime is even here. It doesn't add to the challenge of getting the kill, when really the challenge should come from understanding the game well enough to efficiently sneak up on someone. If you fail the QuickTime event, you still get the kill, but it'll be noisier and won't yield as many points. I think this QuickTime concept would have fared better if it were something you only had to do when you get caught, adding to the tension of getting out alive. As it stands, you only have weak kicks and punches to stun people, then you have to run up to them to finish them off, which I think is fair. Moving quietly, you get a slick, quiet kill. Jump the gun and rush in, you have to sloppily try and knock him down and then kill him. Using the D-pad lets you switch between a distraction item, an attack item, your darts, and the Farsight ability. Darts are used to activate switches, destroy lights, create environmental distractions, or if you're really daring, throw directly at a guard to provoke them into coming over. Distraction items include noisemakers, smoke bombs, and even a beloved cardboard box. Kinda odd to call them distraction items considering some of them are for hiding and not distracting enemies. Perhaps intrusion items would have been more accurate? Attack items are exactly what you think, additional tools to kill opponents from afar. Farsight is something given to you a little later into the game. It's a simple ability that allows you to see enemies, obstacles, and items through walls, but you're stuck in one place while using it and you can only look so far ahead. Really nice way to let the player see what's around them without overpowering them. This game does a great job at easing you into all these tools and mechanics. You don't even get a sword at first. It opens with you being woken up by a ninja named Aura. By the way, Jonathan is the only good JoJo and Phantom Blood is the only good part, who guides you through the game at a steady pace. You're shown the basic controls, how to hide, how to use items, how to grapple on the grappling points, and then you get your sword.
The beginning of the kill is like embracing a lover. The end, of course, is not.
Dang, I sure got a lot to learn about sex. You embark on a mission to save your fellow Hisomu clan ninjas being held captive by invading PMCs. This includes your master Ozai, who then gives everybody a speech about striking back against the enemy. He then tells us the tale of the tattoos and how they were made using a rare but deadly flower possessing incredible powers that hone your senses beyond belief. The catch? These tats will drive you insane, and if you accept them, you must vow to take your own life before destroying the clan. Our next set of levels are about infiltrating the PMC headquarters and getting to the President Karajan. These levels do such a good job at introducing gimmicks as it goes on while still keeping things simple. You're first sneaking through the place like before, but then we see lasers, motion sensors, dogs that can sniff you out, and more. On top of that, the game manages to come up with creative scenarios for nearly every level. For instance, this one has light restoring to a building floor by floor, making you want to move through as fast as you can so that you aren't suddenly illuminated. Then you have a section where you have to hide before lightning strikes and gives away your position. You can listen for a more silent thunderstrike before the louder one comes in and flashes the screen. One of these PMC headquarters levels ends with you stealing a GPS locator off of a guard to find Karajan. You have the choice to steal it off of him or just kill him, but why? Either way, it'll alert the guards and you have no incentive to kill him because sparing him will increase your score. There are later sections where you have to steal something from a guard, and here, the player may think, maybe I could use an attack item to make it easier. Here, there's no reason to waste one of them. The game guides you right where you need to be just to pick it up. I know it's such a minor thing, but when most of the game's sense of choice is done so well, something this artificial can't help but feel awkward. Each and every level has 9 medals to unlock. 3 for getting a high enough score, 3 for doing optional objectives, and 3 more for finding hidden scrolls. Most of them are as simple as finding a secret room tucked away in the corner, but then there are the challenge rooms you have to solve to earn the scroll. Some of them are as simple as avoiding lasers, while others give you classic block and switch puzzles. They're easy at first but get really hard in later levels, even having some do or die moments. You use the medals to buy items and upgrades, and I highly recommend getting the gliding ability as soon as you can because I can't count how many times I use this to jump over enemies or make otherwise impossible leaps across the stage. It's kind of overpowered, especially in the early portion of the game, but it's still just so nice to have. More lucrative than items are the different unlockable paths you can choose. My favorites are Path of Silence, taking away your sword in exchange of silent running to combine a speed run with a ghost run, and Path of Nightmares, which terrorizes guards into shooting anyone they see, including each other. The terrorizing mechanic is actually pretty fun to mess around with. If a guard sees someone killed in a gruesome manner, like being hung from a vantage point or being eaten alive by bugs, they'll completely lose their shit and start shooting everyone they see, including allies. As the game moves forward, the design gets a lot more labyrinthine. You'll be given multiple routes stacked on top of each other and many other branches that'll intersect and split off on your way to the objective. Some paths may have more secrets than others, some may have more distractions to use, and some may be more ideal for a ghost run because of how you can maneuver around the guards. The final PMC headquarters level wants you to kill Corporal Kelly here, this being one of the few times you're forced to kill someone to proceed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. On the bright side, they do make a good puzzle out of it, having to avoid snipers while dropping the ceiling on him. Or you could just do this. You then gotta go to Karajan's castle to finish him off, and these levels really bring out the game's genius. This is where it excels in giving you tons of different options and routes with some light puzzling here and there to go with it, but still upping the ante with more and more enemies. Not a terribly big fan of this scene where you have to hide from them as they hunt you down though. The poison gas creeping up on you and the dogs that can sniff you out of your hiding spaces, it's so annoying. Anyway, I think now's a good time to start talking about both gameplay and story spoilers, so here's the time code to skip all that. Eventually, you find and kill Karajan, return to the dojo, and realize that since we've been compromised, we're now stealing his shit to defend ourselves with. Not only that, but Dosan believes Azai is a traitor and escapes into the desert where the ink flowers come from. Looks like we can't die just yet. These desert levels are filled to the brim with environmental traps you have to avoid, but can also use to kill guards if you want. Throw a dart at this explosive crate, lure a guard to step on it, and you just got an easy kill. Though of course it's also good not to rush anything lest you get blown up instead. Once you've found and saved Dosan, you get the final mark, granting you the power of teleportation. You unfortunately don't have a sword or any items besides darts for the next level, but it won't matter much since teleporting is so overpowered. You're gonna need it now more than ever since these final levels have you avoiding stalker ninjas who can sense you from a certain radius. If you really want to break the game in half, you can take it back into previous levels as it's now branded as Path of the Mark. You make your way back to the dojo through an underground tunnel, and this is where you see the marks begin to take a toll on your character's mind. You'll see Karajan's guards patrolling the area, but if you kill one, it turns out it was just another ninja of your clan. Before long, you'll get your sword back, and at the end of the level, you have to survive in a room being searched by a bunch of stalkers. It seems hard because they look in all the hiding spaces, but they can only cover so much room at once, and the timer isn't very long, so you can get by pretty easily. Now we're at the very end of the game, where Azai reveals to you that Aura was never real all along. She was merely a fantasy conjured by the Mark. Perhaps she represents the character's conscience or primal will to survive. There are many ways you can interpret it. Either way, Azai awaits you to make your decision. You're told to choose either Aura or Azai to kill. If you kill Aura, you also kill yourself. Regardless of who you choose, you don't see what happens next. I believe that the first half of this game is criticizing cultural erasure. We see this ancient secret society threatened by rich white dudes packing deadly technology wanting to wipe them out. However, I think the second half raises questions about the righteousness of traditions. The Hisomu clan always expects anyone who accepts the mark to take their own life, lest they go mad with power. The choice between taking your own life or your master's life, along with the clan choosing to arm themselves to the teeth, is allegorical to how we question the passing of tradition. Should we continue doing things as our ancestors or just ditch these practices? Could they be changed to suit modern values? While the stance on cultural genocide is unquestionable, these questions don't see a straight answer. They're far too complicated to simply say yes or no to. Most people know why killing others in the name of personal gain isn't okay, but deciding on the future of your own people is a much heavier task. You, the player, are challenged to think about it yourself. The developer commentary even gives us an interesting reason why we don't see the effects of our choice. The game was made with one big design philosophy in mind, making decisions based on what little you know of what's up ahead. It's always a challenge, but when you pay close attention to what's going on, be resourceful with what you have, and carefully weigh the consequences of whatever calls you make, you can get through it just fine. I've seen plenty of praise for this game's design and mechanics, remarking on how a 2D stealth game gives you more freedom than most 3D stealth games, and while there is truth to that, I don't quite agree with the implication of 2D games being inherently limiting. On the surface, yes, having a third dimension adds more possibilities, but many design aspects simply work better in 2D. I don't think the platforming, wall-clinging, or grappling would have been quite as satisfying if it had been put into a 3D game. On top of that, we wouldn't have had this excellently drawn, smoothly animated sprite work. What I'm trying to say is, the game isn't 2D solely because it's a smaller studio that doesn't have enough financial backing for 3D development. It's 2D because Clay Entertainment knows how to flourish in a 2D environment, crafting tight gameplay, inventive mechanics, varied design, and tie it all together in a beautiful art style. I can't recommend this game enough whether you're a dummy at sneaking around or you've gotten the big boss ranking 100 times over. It's a pleasure to play through and through and a real work of art. Man, I'm so glad I'm finally doing game reviews. I've been wanting to make one of these for 12 years now. I'm going to be making more of these from now on, so if you like this video, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and hit the comments to tell me what took you 12 years to try.